George Russell crossed the finish line in Melbourne with 2.9 seconds to spare, radio crackling, saying, very nice, I like this car, I like this engine." Behind him, Charles Leclerc was on the podium. Lewis Hamilton was fourth. And somewhere between those two results lies one of the most infuriating strategy decisions Ferrari have made in years, a call so damaging, so avoidable, and so perfectly timed to hand Mercedes a gift-wrapped victory that the paddock cannot stop talking about it. The 2026 Formula One season is one race old. Ferrari have already given away a win. And Mercedes have already told the world exactly what this year is going to look like if nobody stops them. Let's go through the race, because the context makes the strategy error even harder to swallow. Before a competitive lap had been turned, Melbourne served up its own chaos. Oscar Piastri lost control of his McLaren on the curbs at turn 4 on his way to the grid, spun hard into the barrier, and failed to start his home race before it had even begun. Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll both eventually disappeared into the garage for extended periods, eventually classified 17th and 18th, continuing the nightmare that has defined their entire 2026 campaign so far. The opening laps before the strategy call destroyed the narrative were exactly what this new era needed to show the skeptics. Leclerc produced a lightning start from 4th on the grid and was at the front by turn 1, leaving Russell behind him and igniting a genuine fight that had the crowd on its feet. The two of them exchanged the lead no fewer than 6 times in the first 10 laps, Russell getting past, Leclerc sweeping back around the outside. Russell outbraking him again before a lockup let Leclerc come back. Hamilton and Antonelli were right there behind them. It was the start to the season that Formula One desperately needed. And then, Isaac Hadjar's Red Bull stopped on track on lap 11 with smoke and flames pouring from the rear, triggering the first virtual safety car of the afternoon. And Ferrari made the call that changed everything. Russell dived into the pits immediately. Antonelli came in right behind him. The Silver Arrows double-stacked, fitted fresh tires, and rejoined on a completely different strategy to the Ferraris ahead of them. And the Ferraris? They stayed out. Both of them. The logic was to gain track position and attempt a deeper one-stop, setting up an offset where the Ferraris on older tires would survive a charge from Mercedes on newer rubber. It was a gamble, and it failed. Hamilton himself spotted the problem immediately, going on the radio and saying, "At least one of us should have come in." That radio message is the most damaging indictment of the Ferrari pit wall's decision-making to emerge from Australia, questioning why his own team had not pitted at least one of their cars to maintain pressure on Mercedes from both directions. Ferrari heard it. Ferrari did nothing. A second virtual safety car arrived on lap 18 and again Ferrari stayed out. By the time Leclerc finally pitted on lap 26, he dropped to 4th. Hamilton stayed out one more lap before rejoining behind his teammate. Russell had reclaimed the lead by lap 29, and from that moment, as Crash.net's race report bluntly summarized, that ultimately killed any hope of Ferrari challenging for the win as the race petered out in the second half. Leclerc battled back to 3rd. Hamilton finished 4th, within 0.6 of his teammate at the flag, but out of laps to complete the overtake, 3rd and 4th. From what should have been a genuine fight for first. Strategy analyst Bernie Collins went on record immediately after the race saying Ferrari would face serious questions about their VSC call her assessment, being that it cost them at minimum the chance to apply real pressure on Mercedes in the second half of the race. Leclerc was measured but visibly frustrated in the post-race interviews, revealing something that adds another layer to Ferrari's Australian nightmare. Their energy management software had cost them meaningful time in qualifying too. "We were taken by surprise," he said, describing the VSC strategy outcome. Ferrari arrived in Melbourne with a car fast enough to fight for the win. They left with 3rd and 4th because of a software limitation that hurt their Saturday, a strategy call that surrendered their Sunday, and the unsettling knowledge that even if they had got both of those things right, Mercedes might still have been quicker over a race distance on the hard compound. Hamilton chose to focus on the positives, but his words were carefully chosen in a way that communicated his actual feelings without saying them out loud. "There's no mixed emotions. I feel great. It was a really great race, 7th to 4th. I think the team did a great job overall, and the car was fantastic. We're not obviously where we want to be in terms of pace to Mercedes, but I think there's lots and lots of positives to take away. He had executed a bold double overtake on the opening lap to move from 7th to 3rd by the time the field settled, described by multiple broadcast teams as one of the great opening lap moments of recent Formula One history. He had done his job. The strategy wall had not done theirs. Now look at what Mercedes produced in the same race, because the contrast is important and revealing. Russell's victory margin of 2.9 seconds does not fully capture how comfortable the Silver Arrows were in the closing stages. Russell told his engineers, "A one-stop is viable." When asked about tyre life mid-race, a call that Antonelli responded to with the line, "That's gonna be brave." It was not brave. It was dominant. The hard compound tyres on the Mercedes lasted over 35 laps without meaningful degradation, the exact tyre preservation advantage that Ferrari had built their strategy on and that the Silver Arrows exposed as belonging to them, not the Scuderia. Ralf Schumacher, watching from the commentary position, said Mercedes still had room for improvement after their strong opening 1-2, which, if true, is a genuinely frightening sentence for everyone else in this championship. The overall picture from Australia, Mercedes 1st and 2nd, Ferrari 3rd and 4th, McLaren and Red Bull already over 50 seconds back from the leader, confirmed what the compression ratio controversy had been pointing at all winter. The competitive hierarchy at the front of the 2026 grid has a name at the very top of it, and that name is not Ferrari. The championship standings after one race reflect the outcome exactly. Russell leads for the first time in his Formula One career ahead of Antonelli in 2nd, Leclerc is 3rd, and Hamilton 4th. Verstappen, who produced one of the drives of the race from 20th on the grid to claim 6th, passing car after car in a display that reminded everyone that the man inside the Red Bull is still the best racing driver on the planet, even when the machinery beneath him is not sits 5th. For the constructors, Mercedes lead Ferrari by 17 points after one race, and the season is 23 races long. Ferrari's work begins now, on the software, on the strategy tools, on whatever gap in execution allowed Lewis Hamilton to identify the correct call from inside the car before the team on the pit wall had reached the same conclusion. Because if this is how the season starts, and Mercedes continue to convert their apparent pace advantage into straightforward race wins, the path back for Ferrari is going to require something far more than just a fast car. What do you think? Was Ferrari's VSC decision the decisive moment that cost them an Australian GP win? Or would Mercedes have beaten them regardless? Can Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc close the gap to Russell and Antonelli as the season develops? Or has Mercedes already built the car that wins the 2026 championship? Drop your predictions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more F1 news. I'll catch you in the next one.